Translator. Reverie. Editor. Carissa Ling Han set the old vicious mongoose into a rolling boil, and of that fierce king beast's essence, he let Guang Yuan take the lion's share, while he and Li Chan only ate a smaller portion. Afterwards, Guang Yuan immediately went back into seclusion to batter at the gate of the spiritual pedestal tier, while Ling Han and Li Chan likewise reaped no small gain and began to charge at the bottleneck of a minor tier each. The higher one climbed, the firmer the barricade of a minor tier became, no longer something easily shattered. Below the flower blossom tier, it was still acceptable, but after that, every minor tier would be as difficult to break through as though it were a major realm, requiring the backing of worldly treasures and medicinal pills. It could be said that before the flower blossom tier, the role of pills was to help martial artists rapidly complete the accumulation of origin power. From the flower blossom tier onwards, the importance of pills rose again, gaining the effect of helping one pry open the shackles of a tier. The blood and flesh of a king tier beast could be regarded as a treasured medicine of its same tier, so its efficacy naturally worked like a charm, aiding the three in accumulating origin power to assault a higher tier. After 2 hours, Ling Han was the first to complete his breakthrough, stepping into the second layer of the spiritual pedestal tier. After him came Li Chan, who reached the third layer of the gushing spring tier. Though that wasn't high, with her talent in martial arts, her cultivation, and her age, she could be counted a genius back in Rain Country. Taking advantage of the time while Guang Yuan was still forcing his way past the threshold, Ling Han drew out that piece of bone branded with the pattern. It was plainly only a bone pattern, seemingly born of nature, yet it gave Ling Han a profound sensation, as though it were some kind of incomparably advanced art displayed in the form of markings. He diligently tried to fathom it. Within his consciousness, the bone pattern evolved unceasingly, changing in complexities beyond complexity. I must seize it. This will raise my battle prowess by a great deal. Ling Han said, easy to speak, yet bitterly hard to do. Other than the indestructible Heaven Scroll, this was the first time Ling Han had encountered an art he could not comprehend at a glance, leaving him both startled and all the more intrigued. That old vicious mongoose was only at the spiritual pedestal tier, yet it could grasp these bone patterns. Was he truly inferior to a beast? 2 days passed. Guang Yuan finally emerged from seclusion and returned to the spiritual pedestal tier. Congratulations, Big Brother Guang, Li Chan said sweetly. Her cold indifference was only ever aimed at outsiders. Guang Yuan was overcome with joy. He had never imagined that in only half a year he would return to the spiritual pedestal tier and be even stronger. If he met Duan Zhengxi again, he was certain he could kill the other with his own abilities. Thank you, young Master Han, for your help, he said to Ling Han, half kneeling. Ling Han nodded and put away the old vicious mongoose's skull. In 2 days' time, he still could not comprehend the bone patterns, so his mood had soured. They set out. In the far distance, an indistinct pillar of light could be seen surging into the heavens, as though pointing out their road. Since none of them knew where they ought to go, they decided they might as well walk in that direction. After half a day, a lake appeared before them. Even without drawing near, a terrifying chill rushed at them, making their blood feel as though it were being frozen solid. At least 100 people ringed the lakeside, and they were actually fishing. These people had come in not long ago and were certainly not natives of this world. It was unheard of that there would be locals here. Ling Han's gaze swept over and found his older cousin, Yuo Kai Yu. This fellow was hauling a massive net and casting it toward the lake, then drawing it back up. His upper body was bare to the waist, revealing sturdy muscles. Was he perhaps showing off? With so many people fishing, that meant the fish here were absolutely not ordinary. Ling Han walked over and circulated origin power to ward off the chill. Fortunately, though the cold drilled to the marrow, it was still something one could resist as long as one had reached the element-gathering tier. Clear deal came from the lake, yet the surface water carried ripples, with no sign of freezing over, appearing exceedingly strange. Master Ling! My respects to Master Ling! Ling Han walked in. Quite a few people paid respects to him, and naturally there was a minority that ignored him, thinking that they had no need to ask Ling Han to refine pills. So was it worth the effort to fawn over him? It was still mainly because Ling Han was too young, stirring envy. Otherwise, if he looked like an 80 or 90-year-old man, it was guaranteed the youngsters here would give him face. There was nothing to be done. Youngsters were proud and arrogant and could only accept bowing their heads to the older generation. Ling Han was so young, even younger than most of the people here, naturally making people envious and unconvinced. Ling Han wasn't idle enough to demand everyone sincerely accept him. He smiled and nodded, then asked someone, "What fish are you catching here?" "Absolute cold ice heartfish," the person said, then suddenly started and yanked the bamboo pole, hooking up a foot-long white fish. Its belly was a translucent white, and its insides could clearly be seen, as if layered ice. That person was delighted, smiling as he said, "Master Ling is truly naturally lucky. The moment you came, I fished up this one. This is also the first absolute cold ice heartfish I've fished up in 3 days." Within Ling Han's mind, information on the absolute cold ice fish immediately surfaced. It was known as a treasured medicine among fish, greatly tonic, especially for martial artists, because it could replenish chi and blood, increase origin power, and was more effective than most medicinal pills. Because it was a naturally formed being, eating it would not cause drug resistance, nor did it carry any medicinal pill poison of the sort. It could be eaten as much as one wished. At most, for someone of a higher tier, it would simply take more absolute cold ice heartfish for the effect to become apparent. No one went into the water to fish because the water was too cold. Even spiritual pedestal tier warriors entering it would not take long to be frozen into a block of ice. Ling Han was instantly fired with enthusiasm as he said to Guang Yuan and Li Chan, "Let's fish too." Within the Black Tower, there were nearly all kinds of materials, and very quickly, the three of them each had a fishing kit. The line Ling Han used was forged from blood-sucking origin gold, and then he took out a bunch of ginseng from the Black Tower. This would be bait. The absolute cold ice heartfish itself was a supreme tonic medicine, so it also loved to eat spirit medicine, making that the best bait. However, spirit medicine was extraordinarily precious, so how many people here could take out a second tier or third tier spirit medicine? Anything higher they likely didn't have, and even if they did, how much could they possibly possess? Precisely because of that, everyone's gains were so meager. The bait wasn't effective, so why would the absolute cold ice heartfish take it? What Ling Han lacked least was spirit medicine, and he definitely did not lack those below the 5th tier. He took out 100-year-old ginsengs, and every stalk was at least 100 years. It wasn't that he did not have 1,000-year-old ones, but that it would be far too wasteful to use such for fishing. Ling Han tossed some ginseng to Guang Yuan and Li Chan while everyone watched these stalks of ginseng, thick as an arm, being flung about like carrots. Their faces involuntarily twitched. Oh, envy and hate. He was too wealthy. Ling Han wound the ginseng onto blood-sucking origin gold, flicked his wrist casually, and it landed at the center of the lake, raising slight ripples. Translatory editor, Kurisu. In but a short while, Ling Han's lips curled into a faint smile. His right hand gave a subtle shake, and at once he drew back the blood-sucking origin gold. Shua, a great fish, was yanked from the waters, 2 feet in length, its tail still lashing fiercely as it thrashed in midair. Compared with other men's bait, a century-old ginseng's allure was naturally far greater. Moreover, the other's lines could not reach the heart of the lake, only Ling Han's could, and so he landed a large one at the very first pull. A thought flashed through Ling Han's mind. He turned to Small Tower and said, "Spirit grasses can have their growth hastened within the Black Tower. Then can these fish that demand harsh conditions be raised as well?" If that were possible, he would not eat them. Raising a whole school within would be the same as possessing another trove of treasure. No. Small Tower replied at once. Ling Han could not help but feel a pang of disappointment. Then he could only fish up as many as possible. Those he could not finish would be turned into dried fish, and every last one would be taken away. He changed to another ginseng and cast the line into the lake's center. Before long, there was another harvest. Because the bait was exceptional, even Guang Yuan and Lei Chan frequently had gains. However, since they fished from the lakeside, the fish they caught were not large, about a foot long, utterly incomparable to what Ling Han pulled up. Even so, the martial artists fishing by the shore already wore gazes brimming with greed, wishing only to steal a share. Yet faced with a heaven-grade alchemist who dared act rashly, if no one else were present, perhaps it would be fine. Who would know if they were killed? There was another issue. Ling Han's battle prowess was shockingly astonishing. Though he had not entered the prodigy battle, how terrifying was a 20 stars spiritual infant tier combat strength. Even if it were with the aid of a spirit tool, one would still need a spirit tool of roughly similar grade to withstand it, no? Thus, they could only drool in secret from the side. Yet there were always the restless sort. If I cannot steal from you, and cannot obtain more than you, who does not know how to stir trouble? Ripples spread across the lake as several people began flinging stones into the water, instantly startling the school of fish into fleeing toward the lake bed. Ling Han's brows knit at once. He said to Guang Yuan, "Drive those people away." "Yes, Master Han!" Guang Yuan sprang to his feet immediately, eager to kill. Having returned to the spiritual pedestal tier, he was itching for battle. He strode over in great steps, killing intent surging forth. The nearest troublemaker's expression changed instantly as he shouted at Guang Yuan, "What are you trying to do?" "Making you piss off." Guang Yuan roared and struck, launching a punch. 5 war elephants surged out, charging straight at that man. "Damn it!" The man hurriedly parried, shouting loudly as he did, "Master Ling, you're too high-handed. This lake isn't yours. Why are you letting your subordinate assault me? You're trying to take the place all for yourself?" "Quite right, too high-handed. Worldly treasures naturally belong to the people of the world." "What are you trying to do?" Someone chimed in, naturally one of the other troublemakers. "Driving people away at every turn. That's too much." More troublemakers leapt out and closed in on Guang Yuan. They naturally did not dare to touch Ling Han, who was a heaven-grade alchemist, but Guang Yuan was different. Only the hound of a heaven-grade alchemist. A dog. Well, slaughtering it was no great matter, for they all hailed from great sects and possessed that self-assurance. Just as Yao Hui Yuo did not care about an earth-grade alchemist, though these people were not reckless to that degree, the odds of them ever needing to seek a heaven-grade alchemist were close to nil. So why should they give him face? More importantly, they were young and arrogant, and Ling Han was far too young. So young it made them jealous. They heaped an unwarranted burden upon Ling Han. First, they stood firm upon reason, so that even if Ling Han later sought trouble at their sects, they could still claim justification and remain confident. After all, in the North region, what difference was there between a heaven-grade alchemist and an earth-grade one? Sects respected high-tier alchemists, but they definitely would not take them at their word. Guang Yuan's battle prowess was indeed strong, but he had only just entered the spiritual pedestal tier. This breakthrough was merely a return to the spiritual pedestal tier and could not grant him benefits from the heavenly luck stone. So his battle prowess was around 4 stars. Facing elite disciples of these great sects, 1 or 2 would be fine, but once there were more, he could no longer hold. Under the encircled attacks of 6 people, Guang Yuan was in imminent danger. The non-troublemakers watched from the sidelines, enjoying the spectacle. Ling Han was too young, yet they still had to pay respects to such a youngster and call him master. Naturally, they felt annoyed within, and were only too glad to savor the scene. Ling Han's gaze turned icy. He rose abruptly and walked toward the clash. "Master Ling, are you going to personally intervene?" A troublemaker said in a mocking tone. He was not a figure upon the prodigy roll, yet was exceedingly conceited and did not believe Ling Han had ever burst forth with 20 stars. Spiritual infant tier battle prowess. Thinking someone had deliberately lied to praise Ling Han revealed a chill smile and said, "Since you all aren't willing to get lost, then you can all stay here." His right hand trembled, and the demon birth sword leapt free. With a single slash, the troublemaker's head flew at once. Blood erupted violently from the neck, surging a full foot high before spilling back down. The head struck the ground, disbelief still frozen on its face. Its owner had never imagined that Ling Han would suddenly kill him. He was a disciple of Blood Flame Valley, the strongest sect of the North region. Anyone who struck him had to think before acting. That gory execution intimidated everyone instantly. Killing a Bloodflame Valley disciple without the slightest hesitation meant Ling Han had no qualms at all. Hiss, could a heaven-grade alchemist truly be so willful? Ling Han advanced toward Guang Yuan. His killing intent rolled outward, and the six troublemakers felt pressure crash upon them as they retreated involuntarily. Yet it was too late. Ling Han struck, six streaks of sword chi cleaving toward the six of them. Pooh, 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 pooh. Those six had no power to resist at all, and were instantly severed in two. Limbs and heads tumbled apart, blood splashing everywhere. Everyone was terrified. The status of alchemists stood beyond the norm, and a great part of that reason was that they did not take part in disputes of interest with martial artists. Thus, could they remain beyond the norm? Otherwise, with contention came conflict. How could they still stand apart? It was unheard of for an alchemist to join in competing for treasures, because alchemists understood exactly why their status stood beyond the norm. They isolated themselves from struggles over benefit, yet Ling Han was unrestrained, not only entering the mystery realm, but also killing decisively and mercilessly, leaving people shaken with fear. The seven troublemakers were executed. Ling Han sheathed his sword, swept a cold stare over the surrounding crowd, then returned to his original spot and continued fishing. He could pretend nothing had happened, but the others could not. Those seven corpses, heads severed, heads still lying there, remained on the ground. Who could pretend not to see them? Some began to tremble, fearing Ling Han's murderous nature would erupt again, slaughtering them all to erase witnesses. These people quietly departed, yet some were unwilling to give up on the absolute cold ice fish and still continued to fish.